Hello, everyone. It is the August edition of the Lipedema Patient Roundtable. I wish we could see you, but even still, we're so excited to see you. We're so excited to be with you tonight. This really is the best night of the month in so many ways. And I have to say, in large part, because of these amazing women that serve on the panel every month. I have to say, they put themselves out there and they're vulnerable. They share their personal stories. And what an amazing collection. I mean, you're all amazing content creators and influencers and really important people in the lipedema community. And how special it is that we all get together this one spot every month. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to Lympha Press. And I'm Brenda Viola. I work for Lympha Press, and my unofficial title is Lipedema Patient Advocate. I love advocating for the lipedema population, and I love that chat is enabled tonight, unlike last month when it was on the fritz. So we've got Amanda Hadaway and Deborah Ford and Carol Moody. And oh my gosh, Carol Lynn is out there, Angie Hampton, Jeannie Proctor, Christine Lewis, Holly Hope, and more are logging on by the minute. But let me do the introductions. We have the wonderful, big-hearted, I could say that. Now you guys might say, who's she talking about? It could be any one of you, but I got to say, my girl, Patty Cornute from @Lipedema Fitness. We're so happy to have you in the house tonight. Pale Ginger Pear, the woman who she's a star. And yet she joins us every month, and we're so happy. We can't wait to get your update of what's happening in your life, Kara Cruz. Standing in tonight for Cheryl Skolage, who we love dearly, and she's taking a little sabbatical. And if anybody out there knows Cheryl Skolage, just tell her how much we love her. We're sending the love to Cheryl tonight. But Jenny Bogine is standing in as our special guest tonight from Lipedema and Food Sensitivities. It's so great to see you, Jenny.
Nice to see you.
I love your emerald green, and you look you look all sparkly and fun tonight. Angelique Charles, the lippy butterfly, j'adore Paris in the house tonight. Yes, so glad to have you. Susie Beauchamp, you were the most quotable person from last month. Your stand on kindness on social media has made an impact, and we continue with the only love rules here at the Lipedema Patient Roundtable, and we're so glad that you brought that up. And Linda Anne Kahn, I shared the screen and the room with you last month because we were in the same state. Linda Anne has to leave after the first half hour, so we want to get started with a topic that she wanted to talk about, but I want to suggest put your questions in the Q&A, continue to chat it up. We feed off of your feedback. This is interactive and fun. So Linda Anne, you texted me before the show tonight and you said, I want to talk about dry, itchy, inflamed eyes. Tell all.
Do any of you have that? Because a lot of my patients have that, and I've been struggling, and I'm in a flare-up. And so what I looked at for the last few months, because I'm into mast cells, and I'm going to be speaking about mast cell activation disease next week. But I thought, okay, there could be some allergic thing going on, and there could be mast cells, because many of us lippy people have a problem with mast cells and the activation of the mast cells. So I started taking quercetin to help with my eyes, and doing it twice a day because quercetin is a mast cell stabilizer. But it got really bad. And my husband said to me, you have to go and see somebody. So I was able to get in with an amazing woman. They had a cancellation today, and I went in. My eyes are watery and red and itchy. And she knew about lipedema. I'm going to be referring patients to her. She was fantastic. And she said, oh, it's a really difficult condition. And she agreed with me about the mast cells. And it turns out that there are mast cells in the ocular tissues of your eye and in the conjunctiva. So when we have mast cell activation, or we're having problems and the dry eyes get itchy and red, there's an allergic type reaction which is coming from the mast cells, and there is dryness. So a lot of the things that I was doing are correct, and I want to share some of them. But some of the things that I knew to do, but I wasn't doing all the time because it's hard. right? We have so many things that we have to do all the time. Now this is one extra step. But it's really important to keep the eyes clean and every night to wipe that area. I have something here which is called, and I'm going to put it in the chat afterwards. It's called Avanova. It's an antimicrobial spray. She actually had that on her list, and I like things that are natural. And then at night, I put on castor oil drops. And it comes from a company called, it's an Ayurvedic company. I'll put it in the chat. And you have to get hexane-free organic. And so after I've cleaned my eyelashes, I put that on and it coats the eye. And if a little bit gets in, it's okay. Because get what? The restasis that they tell us to take, which I think is not good for us lippy people. And I had a terrible reaction after taking it for a week. This lady told me there's a lot of castor oil in it, and she thinks that that's what helps more than anything else.
Interesting.
And then I take astaxanthin, which is really, really good for the eyes. And you must take omega-3 fatty acids. So this is a new one that I just got. It's called Hydro Eye. You take any omega-3 fatty acids, but then going back to the mast cells, you want to avoid the foods that could be triggering mast cell activation, because we always want to get the root cause of what's going on.
So we have all different levels of knowledge in the audience, and we welcome you, whether it's your first time or whether you've been to every roundtable. And we want to make sure that you understand some of the terms that we're using here. So Linda Anne is referring to mast cells, and Desiree Martinez wants to know what's a mast cell?
So mast cells are actually a part of your immune system. And when you get something, let's say you have a bee sting, okay, the mast cells will activate and they'll send out histamines and you'll get red and itchy, and it's to really protect the whole body from this bee sting. Well, then we take an antihistamine against that. So that's okay. But what happens is when the mast cells activate and they continue activating, overactivating, we have what is called mast cell activation. And I'll be talking a lot about that next week, and the mitochondrial dysfunction and the brain. And
So
there are mast cells in the eye.
that's great. I never even thought of that. Although the chat is blowing up with people saying, yes, I have dry eyes. I've had a problem with my eyes. So what you're saying is really resonating. And Linda Anne is referring to a webinar she is doing for Lympha Press next week, August 22nd, on mast cell activation, mitochondrial disease, your brain, and the lymphatics. I mean, it's going to cover a lot and you'll get some great information. I just put our link tree in the chat. Grab that. You can use that link to sign up for any of our webinars, but particularly this one with Linda Anne Kahn next week. We're so excited to welcome you. Anything else we should know, or you want to do a little promo in advance about your webinar?
Well, just one more thing about the eyes is to do warm compresses on the eyes. And that's what I have not been doing. She said I have to do that every night. You can make things that are not as expensive, but you can purchase little, I don't have that information here. It's downstairs. I'll have to get it to you. But they're little iPads, and you put them in the microwave, and then you put it over your eye just for 10 minutes, and it's soothing and warming. I start off every day with a warm compress. But I'm going to be talking a lot about foods that trigger histamine release, what to do, different medications, different mast cell stabilizers, and how that all relates to us with lipedema.
That is going to be a fascinating webinar, and you can bring your questions. People are saying, is that going to be recorded? We record all of our webinars. Absolutely. If you register, you'll automatically get a link to the replay. And probably about a week later, they're all posted on our website and on our YouTube channel. So we got you covered, but the best thing to do is show up live so you can get your questions answered, which is wonderful. You know, Jenny, you were saying before we went live that you too were having some eye issues. Does this relate to what Linda Anne was talking about?
A little bit. I've not been diagnosed with mast cell syndromes at all, but I have, when I was 26, I was diagnosed with something called keratoconus, which actually has been connected to connective tissue disorders. It's been they see a link to Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and certainly that. And one of the symptoms is dry eyes. And the very interesting thing is I get a lot of relief from practicing blinking well. Deliberate opening, when my eyes get dry, opening and closing them and moving my eyeball from a forward position to a left, to a right, to an up and a down. And within about a minute, it relieves the irritation when I've got something and I haven't got a chance to do the compress or other remedies. It's really helpful to me. But it's been something that I've always done, and I'd never heard about some of the omega-3 that you were just mentioning is something I definitely am going to add to my toolbox, shall we say, to see if that relieves the symptoms overall. But yeah, so it's something for sure.
It is something. Well, I want to go to some of the things I've seen on social, and feel free to put your Q&As in the chat. Remember, we only have Linda Anne Kahn for about a half hour, so well, maybe 15 more minutes. So, oh, and she mentions the cod liver oil is also good for the eyes too. This is not related, but I have heard the castor oil can grow your eyelashes too.
Ooh.
So there's a benefit, everyone, you know. Anyhow, Dog Days of Summer, that was my promo leading into tonight's Lipedema Patient Roundtable, and it's hot out there. We're not suggesting you take off all your clothes like the song says. However, Patty and PGP, you talked about managing lipedema in the summer. Hot time in the summertime. So tell us what you learned, and I promise I won't sing anymore.
I personally have to wear compression whether it's hot or not. If I don't wear it, I swell from the heat and then I'm just miserable and like almost like a restless leg syndrome when I go to lay down at night, like they're just throbbing and they hurt. And so I personally make sure that like I would say like 95% of my outfits fit over my compression, that I can wear them comfortably. I have like one pair of shorts and a few dresses that I won't wear compression with. But even then it's like for the dinner event, and then I'm like in the car pulling compression on and making sure I elevate once I get home. But I know it's miserable. I generate heat like year round. My nickname as a kid was Furnace. I was always hot. So to me, it's just something that like I had to force myself to do solid for 2 weeks, no matter what. And then it was like, oh, I feel weird if I don't have this on.
Yep.
And it's just kind of something you got to train yourself to do.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate. Kathy Kenny says, I'm just like Kara, compression every day, all day. Yeah. And this was part of your conversation with your special stage 3.
Yeah, so we talked about it during the Zoom that we've been doing. I keep my, this was one of the tips I suggested. I keep my compression overnight, like right by my air conditioning vents in my bedroom. So they're like ice cold when I first put them on in the morning, which feels a little bit better. And I will spray, like, since I wear the full body suit, I'll spray like my legs with Dove deodorant spray. And then it keeps you from like sweating underneath the compression. It keeps you dry. So then you don't feel as gross wearing them. But yeah, it's just something that came up because I know, especially with the later stages, like compression is sometimes one of the few options that we have. So yeah, we need to make it a priority to do it.
You did a post, which I loved, a few of your favorite things, which I promised I wouldn't sing again. So I'm not going to go into the song. But of course, you did mention your Lympha Press Optimal Plus, which is one of my favorite things to talk about. Absolutely. But those kinds of posts are really helpful because it's education, you know, and some people may not know that these tools are available in their toolbox. So the more we can get the word out, the better. Yeah. What about you, Patty? You also were a part of that conversation about managing lipedema in the summer. And then you did this very compelling post, sort of like a chicken and the egg question. Which came first, lipedema or Ehlers-Danlos syndrome? I always find it hard to say that.
EDS, that's what I
EDS, that's the better way, yes.
Well, you know, I've been doing the stuff with Gil Headley and the fascia, and I just started digging further. I just, want to get to the root cause, just like you had said before. And so I was looking up connective tissue and lipedema, and I have hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So I was doing all these researches, and I started seeing different things coming up where it was more like, is lipedema a side effect of EDS? And how EDS has 13 types. Somebody who's also a patient came on and commented that in her neck of the woods, there are even some rumblings about it potentially becoming a type of EDS. And I was just like, what? Like when we first got diagnosed, I've been diagnosed since 2007, and it was a painful fat disorder, and then it was a connective tissue condition. And it's just like, I think that they're doing such great jobs in all the research that they're doing, that we just keep learning more and kind of figuring it out. And I just want to know, like, better ways of trying to treat my body and understand what's going on, so that I can try to figure out if it is a lipedema thing that I'm experiencing, or if it's just because I'm, transitioning through menopause. So I'm like,
Wow, it really raises a compelling question. Do you have anything to add to that, Linda Anne? Is it provoking some thoughts from your standpoint?
Well, I know there is a research study on EDS and mast cell activation, but I haven't found anything with lipedema and EDS. And I've been doing lots and lots of research trying to connect many things together. But I don't know that lipedema could have come before Ehlers-Danlos. I don't know. It sounds a little strange to me, but what you're going through with the menopause is a lot of these symptoms, everything overlaps, right?
Yeah.
And so it's hard to really know what it's for when you have all of these symptoms. But it's interesting to think about that.
Yeah, I think that every time we bring the conversation to new territory, it gives so many ideas for research topics. And there's such a hunger, I know, for people like you and Dr. Karen Herbst and Dr. Lindy McHutchinson, and so many leaders that are looking to really break new ground in the coming year for research and learning new things. The more we learn, the better we can take care and manage this condition and get to the root of it. And Jenny, I want to get to you, Angelique. Don't you think you're off the hook? Because you're shining tonight, and we want to know what's behind that smile. And I also want to follow up with Susie, who really shared some thought-provoking comments last month that I want to build off of, about being kind to each other in these online portals. But Jenny, and while I have Linda, you mentioned something online about mast cell and anesthesia.
Well, it was interesting. Last year I had to have a hysterectomy, and I had concerns, and so had a consult with an anesthesiologist before surgery. And I said, I haven't been diagnosed with mast cell. I haven't been diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos, but I have a lot of the symptoms. Just didn't know if this is something you need to be aware of. And they're like, well, we'll make a note. But the morning of surgery, the anesthesiologist that I had, which, by the way, I just have to say, his name is Dr. Luke Dong. So
it feels like you should have dun dun.
Yeah, but he was
that.
Great, because he immediately said, I noticed in your chart that you mentioned concerns around this, and I am glad you told me. I need to know these things, because sometimes it has to do with positioning, and sometimes it has to do with your temperature. Sometimes we choose a different level of anesthesia. And it was really a reminder to me that we're in partners with our medical teams. That if you don't tell them this stuff is going on, they aren't necessarily going to know, even if it's in your chart. You think of how many patients they deal with day in and day out. But it was kind of startling to me, because he said, sometimes we really need to monitor your anesthesia much more closely with these sorts of connective tissue issues. And he was aware of and knew about lipedema. And that was really kind of exciting to me to find that too. But those connections that always come together, but that just don't be silent when you're with a doctor, because they aren't going to know what's going on with you unless you talk with them. And it's always kind of startling what you learn from that too. So, and all's well that ends well,
Yeah, and so well put. So I'm interested, Linda Anne, from your perspective, what about anesthesia? And should the patients with lipedema be saying, hey, I have this condition, and Holly Hope put in her chat, nobody looks at your chart.
No.
That's a problem.
Mhm.
So I just looked it up, and I'm going to look further into it, but it says here, for a patient with mast cell disease, that stress is compounded with the possibility of complications, including anaphylaxis, cardiovascular collapse, increased bleeding. Therefore, general anesthesia is considered a high-risk procedure in patients with mast cell disease. So we need to really look. Thank you for bringing this up, Jenny. We really need to look into this more. That's
Well, I'm
crazy.
glad I didn't know that before I had surgery.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, well, and I'm glad that you brought it up now, because who knows who in our audience tonight or watching the recording, it could really benefit them and help them so much. So this is why these conversations are so important. Susie, did you want to add something?
Well, also with hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, I mean, like, this is like such a double whammy from all sides. So because of that, we have these leaky vessels, or whatever you want to call it. Like, growing up, I always needed 10 times more Novocaine when I went to the dentist than, like, even to the point where the dentist would be like, there's no way you can feel this. And I'm like, dude, do not touch my teeth, literally. And even when I had my surgeries, I felt all of them, and we tried multiple different things. And I started doing some research. And for Ehlers-Danlos, it's actually kind of known that we don't respond properly to local anesthetics. So now we're not supposed to have, because I think I have mast cell, I don't know. I definitely have a lot of intense stuff going on. So then I'm like, you can't have general. You have to have very specific locals. And you have to be very aware of that, because we're just so leaky. We're just like, where does it go? Not where it's supposed to. When it goes in there, it's supposed to like numb some part of your body, and instead it just goes wherever it feels like. Anyway, it's very interesting, all of this. I don't know what the solution is.
Well, but I think having the discussion just in itself is so important. Kara, go ahead.
Also, redheads require more anesthesia than anybody else because of our mutated redheaded gene. So yeah, between lipedema and hypermobility and a redhead, and I'm pretty sure I have the mast cell, because the littlest thing gets me like itchy and rashy, and certain foods irritate me. So yeah, but so far 6 surgeries and no issue. So
that's good news. That's good news. And your fantastic gingerness is worth it to us, at least. I can't imagine you as anything other than redhead.
I just joke that I'm like an X-Men, since it's like a mutation.
Well, as long as you take that in a good light, because I think that's a good thing. In fact, all right, so I came thinking about the internal critics in our heads. I was thinking about it. I had a long drive today. We had a chance to do a training for some brand new certified lymphedema therapists in Fort Lauderdale, which is about a 3-hour drive, So I'm driving and I'm listening to TED Talks. And this woman was talking about self-compassion. She said it's different from self-esteem, because self-esteem can almost lead to narcissism, although I'm all about you believing in yourself and loving yourself. But she said self-compassion is just being kind to yourself. And that we often fall into thinking that if we criticize ourselves, it will motivate us. I can't believe I had that Dunkin' white cream filled donut. Yes, I did, on the way home at the truck stop on my way back from Fort Lauderdale. And, really, does it help beating ourselves up about anything? So I am really going to dig deep into this in my own life about being kind to ourselves. Dr. Herbst, as Jody, one of our guests tonight in the audience, said, she talks about being kind to ourselves and, accepting our body types and accepting who we are. I always talk about being flawsome, but, it's hard enough to deal with our own internal critic than to have to put ourselves out there and hear criticism or passive aggressive comments that aren't forthright, that create questions and insecurity online. We believe in, I want to get t-shirts made for all of you who attend the Lipedema Roundtable. Only love, only love, only love. And one of Lympha Press's most popular posts from this past month was a quote from Susie Boshoff last month, where she talked about stop the hating. Stop the hating, not just online, but stop it towards yourself. Treat yourself like you would your very best friend. So I'm just throwing that out there because it really touched me to think about this concept of self-compassion related to what you were talking about last month, Susie. So does anybody want to jump in on that?
I was just going to say is the self-talk is a very interesting thing. One of the things that I have realized, I don't know if this is real to all of you. I do feel like some people who are connected here, this might resonate a little bit, but I hope that you'll look at it this way. But like, I feel that something happened at some point metabolically with our bodies that caused lipedema. And I want to say that the reaction of lipedema, where this fat tissue is wrapping itself around toxins and becoming more and more solid, is a protective mechanism. And it was very interesting. I was talking to a healthcare provider, and I thought it was amazing what he said, because I was like, well, I hate this because every time I lose weight, I start losing weight, I get really sick. And I think it's because the toxins are being released. And then there's a set point, my body doesn't want to go lower than that. And I'm not trying to lose weight. I'm just trying not to feel like shit. So, and that's kind of what I'm going through. And I said, and it makes me so mad that my body is doing this all the time. And he said, wait a minute, what makes you think that your body is trying to make you mad? Maybe she's trying to protect you. Maybe she's trying to keep you safe. Maybe she's trying to make sure that you live a long and beautiful life despite what you're going through. And just that was the weirdest calming sort of communication, where I was like, okay. Well, we should just maybe see what we could do to make it feel better and thank it for doing what it's supposed to do, because everything that it does, it actually does for a reason. And it is a protection mechanism, even if it's not fun, I find. But there's things we can do to ease it. Lots of lymph drainage. That's my world right now, 1000%. I just want to show you guys, like, look at my collar. Do you see that?
I see a bone.
That's not a bone. You're so sweet. I wish that was a collarbone. That is my lymph. That is my lymph, and it is swollen and it is terrible, and it's on both sides, and it's
oh my
intense. And I've been doing like lots and lots of pumping, lots and lots of stuff, and trying to just bring it down, and hydrating and everything else. But I experienced an overwhelm of chemical stuff. My body's doing what it's supposed to do. It's like, okay, let me protect you and your vital organs from these terrible chemicals. Oh, here, you're all swollen and fat. Enjoy it. Sorry, but at least you're not dying. And I'm like, oh, thanks.
That is a great perspective and well said. And I don't know, it's hard to see on Zoom. I think you look beautiful. So
Thank
what
you.
you look great to me. Oh, you have to go, Linda Anne? Thank you so much for being here. Do you have time to answer one quick question?
Sure.
One quick question came in. What type of doctor will diagnose EDS? Some of the people in the audience are saying, it sounds like me. How do I get a diagnosis?
Oh, it's really hard. Usually an orthopedic surgeon will do that, because I diagnosed one of my patients and she went back to the doctor and he said, no, you don't have EDS. And I knew she did. And then she was still in pain and went to another orthopedic. And then he muttered under his breath, Ehlers-Danlos. And then she said, what did you say? So that was an orthopedic doctor, but they don't all know. It's very hard. And in some of the research I'm doing, it can take years before you're diagnosed.
Thank you for sharing that. We also have some people in chat saying geneticists, clinical geneticists, It isn't easy to get a diagnosis, but it's worth it to pursue one. Linda Anne, we send you love.
Thank you so much. I'm going to
Hugs.
pray
We
circle now
appreciate
for
you.
somebody.
Can't wait to see you again in person, but for
Thanks,
then,
everybody.
until then, and we'll see you at your webinar next week. So we're excited about that. Thank you.
Lots of love.
Lots of love back to you. Gosh, I'll tell you what, you think Linda Anne is really nice on Zoom, but in person, she oozes positive energy. We went to a restaurant called Cafe Gratitude, and everything on the menu was an affirmation. I am loved. I am worthy. I am kind. I am valuable. I was like getting all excited just by the menu. It's like, what? I didn't even care what I eat. I loved reading the menu. So she's a very special woman and one of the authors of the standard of care for lipedema in the United States. For some of our newer attendees tonight, we recommend that you download that standard of care. It's open source. You can find it online. You can find it on the lymphapress.com website. And it's a great tool to walk into your physician with and say, look, this is what the standard of care for what I have is. It's very helpful to bring that into your doctor's appointments. So Angelique Charles, you've been awfully quiet tonight, and that is so not like you. So we want to hear what you have to say. What's going on in your world?
Hey y'all, how's everybody been? I have been a busy butterfly. I just realized last week it made a year that I've been in this house, and God forbid if I turned this camera around and showed you the mess that the house still is. I still don't have blinds and curtains and all that type of stuff, but I mean, it's actually been a wonderful year. Like I look back on this year and I'm definitely not where I was at when we started. Being able to get into the pool, being able to get into the gym, those things really benefited me quite a bit. But I think that the most recent transition of getting back into church and singing all the time has really taken up the majority of my headspace. It's a continuous thing right now. I'm right now preparing for tomorrow and a rehearsal tomorrow and for service on Sunday, and already trying to get them ready for the next weeks. But to be honest with you, like I told my pastor, like if there's anything that I would like to suffer for, it would be this. So with that being said, lipedema has kind of been in the background somewhat. And I've been having to learn how to implement, how to help my lipedema while on the go, which is like so different from coming from a nursing home and being bedbound and not actually seeing the outside world. So everything is brand new every single day. And then you guys know I have the addition of Michael in my life now. So I am out and about. We're going on dates and exploring and traveling. And I'm actually looking at ways to encourage the lipedema women on their traveling, because when I got back from Ohio, that was a lot of the comments that I got back were women who were in the later stages were wondering, like, how was it even possible? And like, it is possible. It just takes a lot of, forethought to it and considering your body before really your activities, which is kind of off for most people's vacation structure, but it's completely possible. So really my thing is right now is completely living life, understanding that, lipedema is something that we're going to have until the day we're out of here, but our life just has to be as full as possible for every single moment that we have here. Otherwise we're going to be, I was there, I know, when we're not enjoying our life, we're going to be depressed. We're going to be in the bed. Our condition is going to get worse. We're going to end up in nursing homes. We're going to end up even more immobile than I am still currently. So living life is like super important. Finding what you actually love, what actually makes your heart beat, what invigorates you, what makes you want to get up in the morning. That is more important than being upset about your big legs. That's it. Love you guys.
I feel so elevated by what you just said. I mean, right? Should we take up a collection? Hallelujah. Angelique, but here's the thing. They're not just words. because we have watched you blossom. We have watched you stir up your gift again and use it. You went silent for a while and you were born to sing. And now that you're singing, lipedema has taken a backseat. Yeah, it's still there, but your purpose is giving you that sense of life and joy. And I think that does a great sort of call to arms for all of us, a great awakening call, because, okay, we know singing lights you up, and we also know Michael lights you up too. But for instance, Kara, when you shared about getting back into photography, what did that do for you? Because you're not just the lipedema influencer. You have another whole life.
Yeah, I felt like myself again, because for so long it was like, you know, the fat chick, and then it was like, oh, she's fat because of lipedema. Then it was, oh, the lipedema surgery. Like, it was all based on my body. And so it was so great to be back with my friend Stephen Lynch, who from day one when I met that man 19 years ago, it was about my talent for photography and my sense of humor. And he had been through major life events with me, like my mom's illness, my mom's passing, meeting the ex-husband. We got married and then went to his show in Vegas right after, then the divorce. Like, he has been there for everything. He had a show in Pittsburgh the Friday before I flew out for my first surgery. So like every major event has been like, he has been like right before or right around. And so it was great to be back with him and just road tripping and seeing people and just doing what like I want to do.
And it makes you feel alive.
Yeah.
Patty, what makes you feel alive?
My family, you know, and seeing my daughter growing into this lovely young person, and she's getting ready to go to college, and her creativity is something that I just am drawn to everywhere. And I just find it just builds me up and it makes me get creative and excited. And yeah. So.
And you're so gifted. When I see some of the things that you create, I am blown away. I mean, I see you doing your Peloton workouts and all that, but then to see this amazing, beautiful art that you create, you know, it's an outlet. We were born to have an outlet to express ourselves. And, you know, I even restarted my own Instagram page this past month because I'm like, Brenda, just because you went through a bunch of stuff last year doesn't mean that you can't find something to share. It has nothing to do with my work with Lympha Press. It's me at meseminars.com. That's my Instagram. And I just find little things to find beauty in every day, whether it's my puppy dog or a sunset or a really beautiful drink with a lime in it, just something that lights me up, right? Jenny, what about you? What lights you up?
What lights me up? You know, I gotta say, it's just, I've been thinking about this last few minutes. It's living, you know, it's living my life. And I think, like Angelique was saying, it's after the diagnosis of lipedema, it's, you know, you're obsessed about it, you're dealing with it. And then it's like, no, it's a part of my life, but it's not my life. My life is my work. My life is going down. I'm lucky to be 6 blocks from the ocean. So to go down to the harbor and enjoy looking at the harbor, or going out, you know, walking by the water, and I really love showing people around. I'm very fortunate to live in New England. And for 17 years, I was really involved in tourism and that sort of thing. I love showing people around, you know?
I want to go on a road trip to your house. Don't you all, ladies?
Absolutely. Come on down. You know all the best places to get the best sunrises. You know, I'm on the East Coast, you know, but no, it's just that sort of thing, being with people, sharing life, you know, but it's also that reminder that, yes, I do a lot of things for the lipedema every day, but it's not who I am.
That is such an important, I think the reason why I'm pressing this point is because I think it's a great reminder for all of us. So of course I cannot bypass you, Susie Boshoff. We know that you are an entrepreneur extraordinaire. But is that what lights you up? What lights you up?
Wow. It's so funny that you asked me this question, because the one thing that I'm going to just be full transparency. It's been a little bit of a rough couple of months for me physically. And it's definitely taken its toll on me mentally. And I'm not going to get into the sad things that I've experienced, because honestly, I think in the last couple of years, we've all experienced our own version of sadness, and it just makes more sadness, and it's not necessary. But that being said, I really had to focus on gratitude, like taking the time to go, what am I grateful for? I mean, I have these amazing grandchildren, and instead of being like so frustrated that I was physically having difficulty enjoying them, I was like, hold on a second, even that smile, even that look, even if I'm not the one holding them or I'm not on the floor with them, is enough, and it's okay. So like, the more I've been focusing on things that I'm grateful for, they're in my world, the more I'm finding. And I know that sounds really stupid and kind of like
Now, wait a minute. Why would you even say that?
Because it's so obvious. Like, it seems like such a simple thing. Like, okay, are you having a rough time? Sit for a second and look around and find 3 things that you're grateful for. Just 3 things that are bringing joy to your life. And then suddenly I'm like, oh, but there's also that, and there's also that, and there's also that. And like, it has been the most beautiful part of, I think it reduces inflammation, actually. You saw some of this. Angelique is like, yes, I think it does too, but she's muted. But yes, this is what I'm saying. It's been such a thing that there isn't one thing that I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for you guys. I was so excited when I realized that today was Wednesday. And I know I'm not the only person that forgot that today was going to be Wednesday.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, yes.
I know. It gave me energy. And I thank you I love how everyone comes to this table and is honest. We are not trying to pretend, none of us are trying to pretend to be anything that we're not. And I'm looking at chat and people are sharing their hearts, and a lot of people are going through a lot of stuff. None of us get a pass. We all have that. And someone said, it's okay to cry. And it really is. On Sunday, we're coming up on 1 year since I lost my partner. And I think I've done remarkably well. And yet there's still pain, right? And Sunday, because I'm selling my house, I felt led to spread his ashes on our grounds here. I still say ours because I still feel like it's our house, right? And I sobbed more than I had when he first passed. And it was trapped energy. It was inside there, and it had to come out. It wasn't a bad thing. It was a good thing to cry it out. So if you are in pain, there is no shame in crying it out. In fact, it was healing. It was a healing cry. And then what do? We pick ourselves up by our bootstraps and we go at it again. And we're ready to face another day. And the reason we can is because we have people that care. We have each other. And this is why I love the Lipedema Patient Roundtable, because do I have lipedema? No. Do I care about the lipedema population? Yes. But you know what? You're all my friends. You're all people that have come to mean so much to me. And it's going through the tough times together that creates the depth in the friendships and the relationships. So I just want to say thank you. I hope you don't mind me sharing my own personal thing, but when I hear about people going through stuff, I just want you to know that we hear you and we see you, and it's valid, and it's okay to not be okay sometimes. But that gratitude message, Susie, it's really important. Really important. Angelique, come on, sing us a song or something. We just, someone said when you spoke last, it was like being in church. So, let's keep encouraging each other. If you ever have a song on your heart, by the way, we will never stop you. I mean, the way you sang happy birthday. Oh, by the way, I got a birthday present, everybody. Online, Sarah Latello. I wonder if she's here tonight. Sarah Latello, are you here? I don't see her name in the chat, but she posted on last month's Lipedema Roundtable replay on YouTube. Brenda, thanks to you, I learned about the Lympha press. Because of you, I educated my nurse practitioner on lipedema, and I asked her to help me get one. Your company is fighting hard for me. I am blown away by how your team fights and educates. I just want to say thank you and happy birthday. Oh. And that makes it all worthwhile, because I know that, it's just not, let's get you a pump. It's like, how can we fight for you and support you after the fact? So that's my little commercial. What's anybody else want to say? Because I've been talking way too much this month. Go ahead, Angelique.
I see Angela Jones in the chat. I had the wonderful opportunity of meeting her yesterday from the Lipedema Patient Roundtable. And back to what you were saying, community is so important. And even the community that we have, our sister community with the lymphedema community, like they're going through a lot of the same things that we're going through with doctors not understanding. It's a comorbidity between the two of them anyway. We're using the same pump a lot of times and the same MLD and things like that. But reaching out to one another, knowing that we're together in this fight is so important. I mean, meeting these ladies that are here on the table, on the round table, was one of the highlights of my year, probably the highlight of my decade at this point. But like having that support, knowing that you're not in this alone, because I remember those dark days of feeling like nobody understood me, like my legs are big and they're weird shaped and I don't necessarily fit in the chairs that the rest of society fits in. I'm having to do different things with the airline that other people don't really completely understand. And I'm tired when I don't look like I should be tired. I weigh more than I look like I should weigh. And like, there's so many things that just don't make sense. I feel like I'm alone. But then you come to a wonderful community like this and you realize that there are other people who are going through the exact same thing that you are, and they're experiencing it. Sometimes exactly the same, sometimes different, but you can share information, you can come together, and you can actually just know that you are loved.
Oh, well said.
Hi, Angela.
Angela Jones, we love you. If you ever want to visit our other roundtable, the Lipedema Patient Roundtable is on the second Tuesday of every month at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then, of course, you've got us on the Wednesday. And, this is a very special place to be. We are running out of time, but we've got to talk Joey Fatone.
So for those of you that might somehow not know, I was completely obsessed with NSYNC back high school time period, like scarily obsessed. My bedroom was my bedroom was in the basement, and I literally had floor to ceiling posters. There was over 1,000 different posters. My friends made the mistake of daring me to get like different pictures. And I was like, oh, well, that. And some of them, they'd be like, this is the same. I'd be like, no, the pose is different, because the photographer in me could like pinpoint stuff that like other people wouldn't see. I had every t-shirt and board game and blanket, like I had everything. The amount of money that I spent probably could have funded a surgery by now. But when it was announced that he was coming to Steel City Con, which is like Pittsburgh's Comic-Con, my friend was like, I'm buying your ticket. You are going with me because I need to witness you asking this man to autograph your senior picture. because my senior picture was NSYNC t-shirt with one of the blankets of the members like held up behind me, because I didn't play sports in high school. I was known for NSYNC, and my friends joked like it needs to be your senior picture. And my mom was like, whatever. So she was like, as long as you do one nice one for grandma, I don't care. So we did that as my senior picture. And I also had a picture of the room that could have been on like MTV's Fanatic back in the day. It was like that bad. So we go, he was the sweetest human, like so nice. I'm walking up to him and he's like, are you okay? And I like, so then in a minute, I'm like panicking, like, do I look like I'm not okay? Because I was slightly, and I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And then he like looks at my shirt, and because I wore the same NSYNC shirt from my senior picture because it now fits again. So I wore it, and he was like, that's a really old shirt. We took that picture in Vegas. And he starts like rattling off all this stuff to me. And he was like, I don't know why I remember that.
Wait, were you starstruck, or were you able to like function?
I felt like I was catching up with an old friend. Like it was the most relaxing conversation. And so I'm standing there holding my senior picture like backwards to him so he can't see it until I talk about it in a minute. And I was like, well, all my friends said I had to come get you to sign this because this is what I was known for. And I turn it around, and he just was like, that's awesome. And just starts like laughing. And I said, well, this was done because I was known for my NSYNC room, and I showed it to him on my phone. And he's like, holy shit balls, it's floor to ceiling. And he like calls his like friend or handler over. He's like, Scott. And Scott's like, there's a fly in here, sorry. Scott was like, I saw it. She showed me when she was in line. And he's like, no, it's on the floor. And Scott was like, oh my God. So they're like zooming in on my picture. And I'm just like hoping that my phone doesn't start swiping through other stuff, and they're like zooming in on my
That's okay. So I want you to find it on your phone so you can hold it up and show us.
Oh.
But we're going to end in a silly note tonight. Everybody had a poster of someone on their wall when they were a teenager. Didn't you? Didn't, Susie? You did. Okay, but I want everybody in chat to share who was on their, well, I'll go first. Andy Gibb. I just want to be your everything. Oh my gosh. Really care. PGP.
Oh yeah, it was
That is
bad.
epic. I just had one silly poster of Andy Gibb and his Shadow Dancing album cover on my wall. We've got New Kids on the Block. David Cassidy, Jenny Bogine. Yeah, all right. What about you, Angelique? Who was on your wall?
18 years, I was New Kids on the Block. After that, it was artwork.
Okay, got it. Now, Patty, you had to have someone cool on your wall.
In excess.
Of course.
And you too, the Joshua Tree.
See, yeah, you were way cooler than me. I was all, I went from Donny Osmond to Bobby Sherman to Andy Gibb. That was wow.
And Wham at one point, it wrote, as it changes, you kind of changed out your posters. Teen Beat, man.
I had Wham. I did have Wham on my wall. And I saw them in concert too.
Well, beautiful. And Kirk Cameron, I remember him. Yes, there are all different ages out here. Bowie, all right, rock on.
Yeah, David Bowie.
Yeah, that's really good. Amanda Hathaway had Vanilla Ice. Love it. Yeah, these are the days. Oh, Angie Hampton had Ricky Schroeder.
Oh, Prince.
I met Ricky Schroeder. I had a great Ricky Schroeder story. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Most people don't know who he is. I tell my kids, they're like, so.
Well, all right. Give us the Reader's Digest version. Tell us your Ricky Schroeder story.
Okay. When I was a kid, my friend was in, he did fairy tale theater, and it was Hansel and Gretel. And my friend was this very, very large, chubby, awesome girl who got to play a gingerbread kid. Anyway, she got to bring somebody to the set. So I went. And I didn't own a TV, nor did I ever watch movies. I literally was like that kid. And then I met Ricky Schroeder, and he was so fascinated by the fact that I didn't know who he was, and I wasn't surprised by him or impressed by him, that we hit it off, and he ended up hanging out with me most of the time because he was so used to fake people. Anyway, it was kind of adorable and awesome. And then he invited me to the set of Silver Spoons, and I got to meet Jason Bateman, who I did
What
think
the
was
what?
awesome.
You mean you were not going to tell us that story? That's
I mean,
like,
it's just, I lived in LA, and it was like, I was like, I don't know, 12 or 11. And I
Oh,
literally
okay. Well,
walked
okay.
on the Universal
All right.
Studios lot. I was like, hi, where's the Silver Spoon set? And they're like, oh, it's back there. And I'm like, thanks. And I went, and it was awesome. Anyway. It was
Wow,
great.
I'm totally
Mhm.
impressed. If I was going to put a poster on my wall, have any of you seen Persuasion on Netflix, the Jane Austen remake with Dakota?
yet.
Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
The main character, the leading man, I don't know who he is. Somebody Google it and see if he's married, because that would be on my wall today. But anyhow, I have to do the standard line, which is, if you would like to know how Lympha Press could help you. No, really, seriously,
Mhm.
if you would like to know how Lympha Press could help you manage your lipedema, your lymphedema, chronic venous insufficiency, whatever, I want to help. Reach out to me. Feel free to email me at bviola@lymphapress.com. We are here for a bright spot in your month. Every month, we are here on the third Wednesday of every month at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Jenny, thanks for being a special guest tonight. Do you have any parting words for us?
Thanks for having me. I think the thing is for people starting out, because I only got diagnosed 3 years ago, though I've lived with this most of my life. And you get overwhelmed with so much information, and you really need to absorb a lot of it, but then you want to do everything all at once. And I think stopping to breathe, to kind of think about it, to try something, see it how it works, and then maybe fold something else in, I think over a progression of time makes such huge impacts. My life has changed pretty dramatically in the past 3 years, just from kind of taking it slow and steady versus trying to jump in. I've lived with this all my life. It's not going to go away overnight. So, just
And Susie, your 3 words that are so powerful
have helped me all week. Actually, I'm like, I have so much to get done. I'm like, no. I'm like, what would Patty, all or something? I'm like, God, that's so
all
brilliant.
or something, all or something, even just that one thing. And if that one thing is just being kind to yourself, then you're ahead of the game. Be kind to yourself for the rest of this month and the rest of your life. You are worth it. We are honored that you chose to spend an hour of your time with us this month. We send you love and light and encouragement. And also, we hope we made you smile and laugh a little bit tonight. I know I did. It was awesome. Have a great rest of the night, everybody. We'll see you next month at the Lipedema Patient Roundtable. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.